a lot of students, they think that it's very easy to get into the top tech companies, the FAANG companies here in Canada as compared to back in India. While you were applying for these companies, if I have to ask you, like, what were the major challenges that you were facing before you made it to these companies?
Hey guys, welcome back to another video. I'm your Ravish guide Sahil Gogna, and coming up next is my conversation with the engineers from Microsoft, Amazon and Google about their experiences and getting a job in these top tech companies in Canada. But before we get started with today's video, I have something exciting to announce. On 15th of October, I'm coming up with a workshop with Sushant, Sahil and Kalhar, who are the speakers in this video, about getting a job in these top tech companies, an in-depth explanation of each interview round, some salary negotiation tips, profile building tips, a 30 minutes Q&A session and much more. This is a paid workshop with limited number of seats, and if you want to crack the interview of these top tech companies in Canada, make sure to register for this workshop. I will leave all the details in the description of this video, and you can also find them in the pinned comment below. So now let's get started with today's video.
So, guys, before I ask you any questions, let's start with introducing ourselves. And we should start from Sushant.
Yeah, sure. Hey everyone. As Sahil mentioned, my name is Sushant, and I'm currently working as a software engineer at Amazon in Vancouver. I'm working for EventBridge team, one of the AWS services. Uh, Apart from that, I completed my master's from Concordia University, based in Montreal.
I think, Sushant, you forgot to at one point, you have also worked for Loft, if I'm not wrong.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, fine. I worked for Gameloft after completing my masters and before joining Amazon. I worked there for a small time. Yeah.
And now, Sahil, we both have same name, so I don't want audience to get confused. So he's Sahil Singh Sodhi, and Sahil Singh, you can introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi. So actually, I moved to Canada in 2018 from India. I have 2 years of work experience back in India. I'm from a computer science background. And again, I did my master's from Concordia University, same as Sushant. It was a 2 years course. And after that, I worked with Morgan Stanley as a full stack developer for about 9 or 10 months. And then I switched to Microsoft. Now currently I'm working as an SD here for Microsoft in Vancouver. So yeah, that's basically it.
So my name is Kalhar, and I'm a technical search solutions developer at Google. And I did here my PG diploma back in India. I did my bachelor's of computer engineering, and after doing my PG diploma in Canada from Lambton College, I joined MDocs as a DevOps engineer. And after 8 months of experience, I joined Google as a technical solutions developer. My mostly specialization is on GK, that's Kubernetes, and Anthos.
I think Kalhar is the best example to all those people who think that the college graduates, they can't make it to the top tech companies. And Kalhar's journey has been full of a lot of inspiration. And we have already talked a lot about his journey. And today also we'll try to bring forward some of the points, guys. But before I ask you about your personal journeys, I want to ask one question that a lot of students want to ask you. Why everyone is trying to get into these top tech companies? What is so cool about working at Amazon, Microsoft, Google? Uh, Maybe one of you can start off with this.
Yeah, sure. I'll go first. I think one of the main, like it's my personal opinion, but yeah, one of the main reasons that I think it's cool about working at big companies, not just the Google, Microsoft, or Amazon, uh, like any big company is like we get to know how to work at scale, how to handle like a large amount of data on your day-to-day life, uh, which we don't usually get to experience like while working somewhere else. Like I'm not saying anything like you get experience while working at other companies too, but like while working at big companies, like I think working at scale, you get to know a lot many things. That was my biggest motivation, that everything I do, everything I develop is being used by that many people and millions of users.
Yeah, great points, Sushant. So to add on to that, definitely we have really nice professional growth opportunities here in big top tech companies. So the challenges that we face here as compared to smaller companies or startup companies, they are really different. As Sushant mentioned, like we have scaling challenges over here, the kind of impact that we can make, whatever the end users use our products, so what the impact that we make, it's huge. And definitely there's job security to it as well. Uh, and apart from that, the perks, that's really interesting and that's really tempting that we get from these big tech companies. Yeah,
All right.
that's my two
I
cents
think
on that.
apart from making the impact that you and Sushant have talked, Sahil, one point that I think Kalhar can add, because I follow him on Instagram and he is he is very fond of going to office, and he is daily
Uh,
sharing a lot of stories, the cool stuff about working at Google. We have been following his hashtags, life at Google and all. So Kalhar, please tell us something about that part too. Like, we know that if you're working at these big tech companies, you get a chance to directly impact life of millions of people, right? But apart
yeah.
from that, what is in it for you, like as a person?
So like I totally agree with for firstly, like I totally agree with Sushant's point. Like, we have a responsibility that we can make impact on like billions of people. Like today, Google search is used by like billions of people around the globe, right? And thing that I work on is Kubernetes. Like that's also used by like millions of companies and everything. So I think like working on that scale makes a it's a huge responsibility. And but at the same time, we also need to make sure of our well-being, right? And I think with the companies, like big companies, they always like make sure to take care of the employees, right? But apart from them, what I like really love when going to work is like I get to meet so many new people, and so many like really good people, right?
Right.
All of them are really good at their place, right? And they are so much intelligent, and talking with them, getting the knowledge. And I think maybe having that knowledge and then using it as wisdom, I think that's what I love. So that's one of the thing. But my main intention is always to meet new people, and I network a lot when I go to office.
That's cool, Kalhar. And Kalhar, you mentioned one point, networking with a lot of cool people. And guys, I want to ask you one question. So a lot of students, especially the students which are coming from India, they think that it's very easy to get into the top tech companies or the FAANG companies here in Canada as compared to back in India. So do you feel, I mean, please don't get offended by this, but this is the question that a lot of students generally post on social media. They have this opinion of themselves. So do you feel any differences between, I'm pretty sure like you might have team sitting back in India or some other countries or some other continents, right? Do you feel any difference between the people working in those countries or those continents when it comes to North America, like especially Canada and US? I think Sahil has one of the incident that he can share about a guy messaging on LinkedIn and talking some weird stuff.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. But before that, I'll add on to that. I think major tech companies or even any company you are going to interview for, they have a bar. That's it. It's irrespective of from what country you are interviewing for. I think nowadays the bar is getting higher. So it's not actually according to the geography where you are interviewing from. So it's the bar that's set by the company. And definitely, I've been receiving some messages over LinkedIn from people back in, let's say, India. So I had an incident where a guy, he reached out to me. He was fresh out of bachelor's, asking me like the tech that's in Canada, it's not as good or as compared to, let's say, US or India. And it's, yeah, like you just mentioned, like it's pretty easy to get into companies here in Canada. There's not much competition over here, something like that. So yeah, that was really funny for me.
Right. I think if you can crack the interviews back in India or here in Canada, it will be easy for you. Like, you can also crack the interviews if you talk about positions in the UK, right? Or if you talk about position in Germany. I don't think so. Like, since like let's say that the companies here also in Canada, they are paying, I mean, hundreds of thousands of dollars to their employees, right? They won't be paying them without any reason or without, it's not like that they're just paying to the one sitting in
Right.
India and they are getting all the work done from them. And for Canada or for US, they are just paying them just for the sake of building their workforces here. So they have already set the bar, as Sahil has mentioned, and I also personally think that it's most of the misinformation that has been spread among the students that it's easier to get into the top tech companies here in Canada, but the reality is that you need to put equal amount of efforts irrespective of the geography, irrespective of the country that you are working in, right? And Sushant,
Definitely.
one thing that one thing that I want to bring forward from your life experience, because I know Sushant from a long time. We met each other in 2011. We were tuition friends, and from there on, our friendship continued. And at that time, Sushant wasn't that much serious of a student. And even in bachelor's, he told me a lot of stuff that he got a lot of supplies, like he failed in a lot of subjects. And at that time, his mindset was totally different. And when I talk to him these days, he's the same guy who has got into Amazon. And so, Sushant, how does this shift of mindset happen? And and especially related to the perspective of Canada, because I remember when you were planning to come to Canada, you were considering going to a small college in Quebec. And then COVID hit and a lot of things got delayed, or a lot of things happened in your life. And then finally you ended up going into Concordia University. So tell us something about that phase of your life and how all these things happen.
Yeah, sure. Before that, I would like to answer the previous question that Sahil mentioned about like people asking questions about it's easier to get a job in Canada than from any other country. From my personal experiences, if I still show up my email, like you will like literally see like how many rejection emails that I have right now. So it's not that easy. It's like the equal, like as we all mentioned before, it's about the hard work or like how consistent that you are working towards your goal. So I think that really matters. And coming to the next question that Sahil had, I think like, yeah, I was totally different. Like I was among like lowest passing grade students, and sometimes I didn't even pass. So, and I think like the major change in my life occurred like when I first started my internship during my
Mhm.
bachelor's, which was I did two internships in my bachelor's, like one after third year and one in my last semester of my fourth year. So the second internship that I did, so that really affected me. So the how it affected me is because I was with the right people, like my mentors, my surroundings. So as we mentioned before as well, like how you interact with people, how your surroundings are like, they totally change your mindset. And I still remember like I once told my mom that like don't ask me to study further after my bachelor's. I'm done with studies right now. And uh, but uh, but after working there for a year and having their guidance all around, I'm still thankful till date. I'm thankful for them. But then I started, searching for colleges in Canada. But when I got, talking to people about it, and they asked me like, why are you not studying in any university? I didn't have any answer, like. And then I gave it a
Mhm.
thought, like, why not? Yeah, like, why not? Then I started, preparing myself for it. I contacted my friends who were studying in university. I started solving their assignments, like, if I can do like, what are the university assignments are, because I'm not that confident about myself. I wasn't. And uh, and even like I talked to my mentors, and they asked me like, don't go to Canada, you can come to Australia, like we can offer you a job there. And uh, but but I was pretty sure and confident back then that I want to study further. And I didn't even apply to any colleges after that. I just applied to like five universities, and like few of them were in US. So I got the
Mhm.
admission there as well. But I chose Canada. So
And I think, Sushant, I have personally seen you growing from a totally different mindset to this the person you are currently right now. And also, like I also want to add few of the points like how this shift happened to you. One of the thing is that I have seen you personally putting in a lot of efforts when so for the audience context, we were roommates, and I have seen him working on the research projects under his professors in Concordia University. And he also talked about his mentors. So one of his mentors that I want to bring forward, he was talking about his professional mentors, but I think his sister and as well as his brother-in-law, he always told me that they both were also pushing him to do better things in life. He was solving the assignments, and he was trying to make those projects which were not even concerned with his academic curriculum back in Concordia University. He was always trying to push himself. So from his journey, I want to bring forward one point, that if you get the right mentorship, that we all here in this video are trying to give you guys, sharing our experiences. So if you get right mentorship, I think then you can definitely achieve your goals or whatever you have set for to achieve for next few months or few years, that you want to get into a top tech company, you want to be good at coding, you want to be, or you want to improve at problem solving, whatever you have set goals for yourself. I think if you get the right mentorship, then
Yeah,
anything is possible, right? So yeah.
yeah, that's right.
And guys, Sahil and Kalhar and even you, Sushant, I know like it's not only about these companies that you have placed. You have also given a lot of interview rounds for other companies. I know Sushant also appeared for Google's SD interview, and he got into like I think fifth or sixth round, and then he wasn't
Uh,
selected for the next round. I know Sahil's journey. He was selected for I mean he has appeared for Amazon SD1, SD2 interviews, also for Twitter and a lot of other companies. And Kalhar, he got over like I don't even remember, like 30, 40, 50 rejections, and then he was able to make it into Google. So guys, while you were appearing for the job interviews or while you were applying for these companies, if I have to ask you, like, what were the major challenges that you were facing before you made it to these companies?
So definitely, yeah, that's a great question. I think when I was doing my master's, we had a certain level of proficiency with the technical aspect of things, but my challenge was the behavioral kind of questions. So the pattern, I was new to this sort of a pattern. Like we'll be asked behavioral questions along with the technical ones, and yeah, and after I started interviewing, I started with some small companies, some startup companies after that, before actually going for big tech companies, uh, just to get a flavor of and get a habit of interviewing basically. And definitely, I was and brushing up your resume was another thing for me. I wanted to add a whole load of information. You want to basically show off that what all things you have done and put as much in your resume as possible, so that your resume can get selected. But then there are other things that needs to be kept, you need to keep in mind. So I think, yeah, these were the two major challenges for me while I was preparing for my interviews.
Cool. And for our audience context, I want to say that so we are also going to cover the behavior part of interviews. So all the mentors, they will be talking about their interview experiences, and they will be also giving you tips that how you can tackle the behavior interviews and what to expect from these types of rounds. As Sahil has just given us a thought that this part is also important. It's not only the technical part, but how you behave in the how your leadership skills and how you work in a team. These types of skills are very important if you want to get into these top tech companies, and this is what we will also be talking about in the workshop.
So I think the preparation that I had, like for initially when I was giving, I have given like 36 interviews, and then 37th was my first me, right? So till 10th of my interview, I figured out that I had a perfect resume, right? But it was a lot of efforts in just making that perfect resume. And the important part about building up the resume is that, like companies just see your resume, right? That's just the first glimpse of you, right? You need to make sure everything is perfect there, and then, like, let's say if you're filtered through, then you start get an interview. But then in the interview, they'll just ask you about the bullet points that you added, right? Let's say if you did a project, right, you need to have in-depth knowledge of what you did, right? Because they will just go dive deep into maybe just one single point, and you want to make sure that you know everything that needs to be questioned about, right? There's
Right.
one thing. And second thing that I realized maybe after coming into Google was that I could have utilized my network, but I
Mhm.
didn't, right? So that is something that I could have done, but now it's never late, right, to learn these things.
Right. So Kalhar mentioned two very important points. One is to make the impactful resume, and the second one is to start networking and utilize your network to the best. And I think Guys, we'll be also discussing these points in detail in our workshop. So if you are looking like how to network and how to make an impactful resume, what are the points that we need to add? So all these cool guys that you are seeing on screen, Sushant, Sahil, and Kalha, they will be going in depth about the art of resume building as well as how you can make your profile stand out. So I think that's it for now, guys. And any final comments you have to add on?
No, I guess it was nice talking to Sahil and everyone. See you guys in the workshop.
Thank you for
Thanks.
everyone for your time.
Thanks, Thank you
Thanks
for
for
having
having us.
us.